I had everything set for a small get-together with friends and colleagues at my house. Drinks were chilled, grill was hot, music was low enough not to disturb anyone, and the mood was perfect. Everyone was chatting when one of my colleagues leaned over to me and asked, "Hey, why didn't you tell us about the $20 gate pass for non-residents?" I froze mid-sip. Gate pass? $20? That was the first time I'd heard of it. I had informed the HOA board about my gathering days ago, and no one said a word about guest fees. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. I pressed him for details, and he explained that Karen, the neighborhood's self-appointed rule queen, was standing at the gate with a clipboard demanding $20 from every non-resident. She called it a temporary guest pass fee. To make it look official, she was even handing out slips of paper with a cheap HOA logo printed in faded ink. My friend thought it was legit and paid up. Another guest nearby admitted he'd also been charged. I could hardly believe it. I stepped outside to confirm, and there she was at the end of the street, standing proudly like she was running a toll booth. Karen waved cars down, collected bills, and smiled smugly as if she had full legal backing. Guests who hesitated were met with her trademark glare, the kind that made people give in just to avoid a fight. Some looked embarrassed, others annoyed, but everyone seemed to hand over the money before being allowed in. I clenched my jaw because I knew damn well this so-called policy wasn't in the bylaws. I'd studied them before moving in, and no mention of guest fees existed. This wasn't HOA business. It was Karen's side hustle dressed up as authority. Watching her pull it off so brazenly in broad daylight made my blood boil. She was turning the community gate into her personal ATM machine. This is so. Before we dive in deeply, let us know in the comments where you're watching this story from. The very next morning, I pulled out my copy of the HOA bylaws and sat at the kitchen table with a cup of strong coffee. I combed through every section, every clause, every hidden paragraph like I was preparing for a law exam. Parking rules, landscaping restrictions, noise ordinances, everything was listed. But nowhere, absolutely nowhere, did it mention anything close to a temporary guest pass fee. Karen had fabricated the entire thing from scratch. My suspicion turned into anger, and that anger quickly shifted into determination. I wasn't about to let her run a toll booth at the community gate unchecked. To be sure I wasn't missing something, I contacted two board members I trusted. They both laughed when I asked about the fee. One of them said, "If Karen told people that, she's gone off the rails again." That word, again, struck me. Clearly, this wasn't her first stunt. My frustration now had fuel. I made it my mission to talk to neighbors. I went door to door like a campaign worker, asking if their guests had been charged too. The answers I got were disturbing. Some had friends who were stopped and forced to pay before being let in. Others said their deliveries had been delayed because Karen refused to allow drivers without the pass. She had literally been turning packages away at Christmas time. The neighborhood was split. A few thought it was hilarious and brushed it off, but most were angry once they realized they'd been scammed. One woman told me her elderly mother had been stopped at the gate and made to hand over $20 in cash. That was the tipping point. I clenched my fists as I pictured Karen pocketing money from a senior citizen without blinking. This wasn't just petty power, it was exploitation. I didn't want to rush in recklessly, though. Karen was cunning, always twisting her words to sound righteous. I needed evidence, cold, undeniable proof that would dismantle her little empire. My next step was clear. I had to catch her in the act, red-handed, with no wiggle room. And once I did, she wouldn't just lose credibility, she'd lose the iron grip she thought she had over everyone. I decided the only way to take Karen down was to expose her with undeniable proof. That weekend, I parked my car a short distance from the gate and waited with my phone camera ready. Sure enough, Karen was out there in full toll booth mode, clipboard in hand, sunglasses perched like she was running airport security. I watched as a couple of my coworkers pulled up. Karen strutted to their window and, in that irritatingly slow voice, demanded $20 for the temporary guest pass. My phone caught every word, every smug grin, every dollar that changed hands. The best part? She even scribbled on one of her fake receipts with the HOA logo she must have printed off Google Images. I zoomed in, capturing the sloppy ink smudges that screamed homemade scam. I stayed quiet, letting her dig her own grave until I had enough footage to fill a courtroom drama. Later that night, I debated my options. I could take this straight to the cops. After all, she was collecting money under false pretenses, which sounded a lot like fraud. But something in me wanted her humiliation to be communal, not private. Karen thrived off the HOA stage, barking orders at residents, pretending she was queen of the neighborhood. So why not flip the stage on her? The next HOA meeting was coming up, and I knew it would be packed. Everyone had complaints, and Karen loved to sit there at the head of the table, lecturing us like schoolchildren. This time, though, she was going to be the one under the microscope. I spent the days leading up to the meeting gathering testimonies from neighbors. Some even handed me copies of the receipts Karen had given their guests, laughing bitterly as they realized they'd been conned. By the time I walked into the meeting, I had a thick folder of evidence and enough video clips to sink her reputation permanently. Karen sat tall at the table as usual, smirking, already ready to lecture us about lawn heights and trash bins. But I stayed calm, waited for my moment, and then dropped the bomb. My phone on the projector, playing her shakedown in high definition. Gasps filled the room. Karen's smirk cracked for the first time in years. The room went dead silent after the video played, except for the occasional gasp or muttered curse from neighbors. Karen tried to laugh it off at first, waving her hands dramatically like she'd been caught in some harmless prank. Oh, come on. It was just a temporary arrangement. Security costs are rising, and someone had to take charge, she said, voice wobbling as she tried to spin it. But the neighbors weren't buying it. People began shouting over each other, waving the fake receipts in the air like damning evidence. One man bellowed, "You shook down my kids when they came to visit. $20 each. Are you insane?" The board president leaned forward, face red, and slammed his gavel. "Karen, this is beyond embarrassing. You abused your position, pocketed cash, and made the entire HOA look like a circus." The smirk that Karen wore so proudly in every meeting was gone, replaced with the look of someone cornered, squirming under the weight of her own arrogance. I stayed back, arms folded, enjoying the theater. Then came the punishment. The board didn't just strip her of authority, they humiliated her in the most poetic way possible. "Since you enjoy standing at the gate so much," the president declared, "we're assigning you community service. You will staff the gate every weekend for the next 2 months, unpaid. And this time, instead of demanding money, you'll be welcoming every guest inside with courtesy." The room erupted in laughter and applause. The following Saturday, I drove up to the gate with my window rolled down, and there she was, Karen, standing stiff in a reflective vest the board had made her wear, waving cars through with the fakest smile I've ever seen. "Welcome in. Enjoy your visit," she muttered through gritted teeth. I leaned out my window and said loud enough for everyone in line to hear, "Hey, Karen, here's my free pass." The car behind me honked in agreement, and soon the whole line was laughing. Every weekend after, residents made a game of it, rolling down windows just to shout, "Thanks for the free pass, Karen." She had no power left, no respect, only the reputation of the neighborhood's failed toll collector. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.